welcome back to my channel. My name is Julienne, and in this video I'll be showing you how to change the strings on your violin. So a lot of people think that they need to go to a music store or a music shop to change their strings, but you can actually do it yourself. There are a couple of reasons why you might need to change your strings. They could be just worn out. Depending on how long you play or practice your violin, you could change your strings every couple of months. If you play a little less than that, it could be every several months or up to a year. So if you've gone maybe like 5 years without changing your strings, you might want to change them. Another reason why we need to change strings is because they break. It happens to a lot of us. It's happened to me while I was teaching, even while during performing. It's happened to a lot of other performers as well. You can probably find videos on it on YouTube. So first, let's start off with where you can get your strings. You can get them at a music store, probably any music store where you got your violin from. You can also buy them online. Now, before you buy your strings, we have to figure out a couple things. First, we need to figure out the size of your violin. So here I have two violins. As you can see, this full-size violin is definitely a lot bigger than this quarter-size violin. So you want to make sure you get the strings that are appropriate for your violin size. You don't want to be putting quarter-size strings on your full-size violin or vice versa. The next thing we need to figure out is whether we need a ball end or a loop end string. This usually applies just to the violin E string. As you can see on this violin, there are holes at the end of this tailpiece right here. So that means we'll need ball end strings for that. Sometimes the fine tuners can extend beyond the tailpiece. It'll look something like this. As you can see, the E string also needs a ball end. Now on this violin, the fine tuner has a hook on it, so we'll need a loop end E string. Here's a closer look at it. If you're shopping for strings online, you'll want to look out for the size of the strings from the description. You'll also need to check the description for whether you need ball or loop end strings. Some brands may have removable balls to become loop end strings. Now you have to decide what brand of string to get. I'll link in the description below some of my recommendations. Alright, now that we have our strings, I have one warning for you. When you're changing your strings, do not take off all 4 strings at the same time. This is very important for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is your bridge could come off. Your bridge is actually not attached to your violin, so if you take off all 4 strings, the bridge will fall off. Another reason why we don't want to take off all 4 strings at the same time is your sound post inside of your violin can get displaced. So if your sound post gets displaced, now we have to go into a music store or a shop to get it fixed. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so we have our violin set up here. Now, if you've never changed a string before, or if you're inexperienced, this is how I would recommend changing it. Lay the violin on a flat surface so you don't have to worry about holding the violin and the string at the same time. Now I'm going to change one string at a time, and I'm going to start with the A string. So let's first take off the A string. So you're going to take this peg and turn it towards you. And hold it like this. And then slide this out. All right, now I have my A string here. As you can see, this A string has a ball end. And we're going to insert the ball end down towards the tailpiece here. Then we're going to bring it up towards the peg here. Now, if you look at the peg, there is a hole in it. So you want to stick the string through the hole, and it should stick out the other side just a little bit, maybe like a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch. Definitely want to make sure it's sticking out the other end. If you don't see it sticking out the other end, then it's not in far enough. Okay, there we go, we got it. So, when you're winding the string, first you want to make sure that you're winding the string so that the string is going over the peg. Alright, now as you're winding, because the A string peg is on this side, you want to wind the string so it goes the direction that the peg is in. So I'm going to wind in this direction. And as you're winding, you want to make sure that you're not overlapping the string. So it should be a nice single layer like that. Alright, there we go. Now before we tighten the string even more, You want to make sure that the string is in the right place. So as you see up here on the nut of the violin, there's a little groove that you want the string to go in. And on the bridge, you want to make sure the string is in that groove right there. All right, now we can go ahead and tighten it. All right, that's pretty good. Try to tune it back up as close as you can to the string that you're changing. Make sure when you're turning the peg, turn it very slowly. If you turn it too fast, you could break it. And the last thing that you want to do is replace a broken string that was supposed to replace a broken string. All right, let's go ahead and change the D string. So first we have to take off the D string. I'm going to turn the peg towards us to unwind the string. All right, now it's time to put on the new D string. So again, I'm inserting the ball end string at the end of the tailpiece. And now I'm going to put in the string through the hole on the peg. There we go. All right, now I'm going to wind the peg so that the string is going over. And as you're winding, make sure the string is not overlapping. It should be one nice single layer. Now, because the D string peg is on this side, I want to wind the string in this direction towards where the peg is. So I'm winding it towards the left, right here. All right. Once I get here, before I tighten it, make sure it's in these two grooves right here. All right, there's our D string. All right, let's go ahead and change the G string. So, as usual, we have to take it off. All right. And the G string is the same thing as the D string. Because the peg is on this side, we want to wind the string to the left towards the peg. All right, I'm winding it towards the peg. Make sure it's a single layer, don't overlap. Right before tightening it all the way, make sure it's in the two grooves. Alright, there's the G string. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and change the E string. So I'm going to show you how I usually change my strings, where I'm holding the violin and the string at the same time. Now with the E string, this is where we have to watch out whether we need a ball end or a loop end string. Now my violin E string requires a loop end, so let's see how it looks. So as you can see, my E string has the option of being a ball end or a loop end. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the ball so it becomes a loop end. You also notice that there's a little clear sleeve on the string. That's so that it'll protect the bridge from the string and it won't dig in too much. Now my bridge actually has a little bit of extra padding on it, so I'm going to remove the sleeve as well. Alright, so here's how the string looks now that I've taken the ball out. Now it's a loop end. Now we're ready to put it on. Alright, so let's go ahead and change the E string. So first I'm going to take the E string off. Alright, and we're going to put the new E string on. Alright, so this loop end is going to hook on to here on the fine tuner. And now I'm just going to lean the violin up against me. This can get a little bit tricky with the E string, so you have to occasionally check in and make sure that the loop end didn't pop out. Alright, so I hold the violin like this. And then I'm going to stick the string through the peg. Now it already popped out, so I'm going to hook this back on. Hopefully it'll stay in. Alright, now I'm going to wind the string onto the peg. And because the E string peg is on the right side, I'm going to wind the E string towards the right side of the peg box, making sure I'm not overlapping the string. Alright, and as usual, right before I tighten it all the way, make sure it's in the two grooves here and here. Now we can tighten it. Alright, there we go. That's the E string. Now here's the final look of how the strings look on the pegs. Notice how none of them are overlapping and they're all curling over the top. Here's an example of some strings that are strung incorrectly. If you look at the A string, you can see that the strings are overlapping. The E string is overlapping a little bit. If you look at the D string, you can see it's strung under the peg. It should be strung over the peg. Alright, so now that we've changed all the strings, it's time to tune your violin. So if you don't know how to tune your violin, be sure to check out my previous video on how to tune a violin. I hope this video helped you with changing the strings on your violin. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. If you have any other ideas on what kind of videos I should make, let me know. Till next time, bye!